Ahora quiero que le demos un gran aplauso a nuestro moderador, Mario Giancarlo Garibaldi, de AP Global Music. ¡Woo! Pamela Bustios, Latin and Billboard, en español. Serona Elton, University of Miami, Frost School of Music. Alina Escarcega, Ligas Mayores Records.
There you go, man. Thanks, man.
Y por último y no menos importante, Manuela Ferradas de SiriusXM y Pandora.
There you go, man.
Un gran aplauso, muchachos. Les cedo el podio.
Aloha.
Hola.
Oh, okay, I have one here. I'm like, where's my mic? Thank you, Julian. Thank you, UNSiN, for having us. I've seen the growth of this music conference since its inception. I think it's something that makes so much sense to have in a city like Miami, where, like it or not, it is one of the most important hubs for Latin music. So kudos to that, and thank you. We are gathered here today to shed some light, I guess, on our experiences when we've dealt with not just emerging artists, but also también con emerging managers, emerging publicists, new labels, new everything. Right? Like, I think the combined experience de cada uno puede ayudar bastante a tener una conversación y después preguntas, you know, empiezo. Algo que siempre me parece que es importante es cuando estás empezando tu carrera, es elegir quién eres como un artista. Right? Who are you as an artist? And I know that's a big catch-all question, but and I've seen this many times, it's very important to have, it's a plus when an artist and a team already has a vision for what they want to achieve. Most of us, and I'm a musician and songwriter and artist myself, probably, I've been an emerging artist all my life, so that's probably why I'm here. But when you begin to put yourself out there, it's extremely helpful to have follow some sort of a blueprint that has already been established. This is an industry that is ever changing, is constantly morphing. New technology always comes into play, but there are some basic traits. Some of those basic traits are, you know, like your art needs to connect with others. Your art, your music needs to have some sort of like a guideline and vision, and I think we could start with that. No?
Yo quería, how many of you speak English o español? Todo, both, como yo dije. Okay, no. I want to, sorry, who are artists or are, okay.
Bueno, vénganse ustedes para adelante, because you're the ones that are going to enjoy the conversation.
Yo quería hacerles una pregunta. Bueno,
vamos, chicos.
Sugerir que hagan un ejercicio. Come closer, please. I would like for you to wake up tomorrow and look at yourselves in the mirror and then ask yourself if you really want to do this, because being an artist is not just about glamour and being on the cover of Billboard. I work for Billboard. Or being here and there. It's a lot of hard work. It's a 24/7 job, and you really have to be sure that you're committed to yourself, to your art, to your craft. You're going to spend a lot of time with no sleep. You're going to be first recording in your rooms, and that's going to translate into recording in the studio. You're not going to eat sometimes, so you have to really commit to yourself, and you want to make sure that that's the route you want to go. So tomorrow when you wake up, do that to yourselves and really say, yes, I want to become an artist, not just for the glamour and the fame, but because the art is pouring out of my pores, you know, like it's coming out of my pores. So that's the first step.
I'd say, and this won't come as a surprise, given I'm an educator, you have to adopt an open mindset to becoming educated. Every single day, you have to be curious, and you have to look for information. And at the start of your career, you're going to be doing all of it, right? All the creative, all the business activities, it's all you. But then as you grow, as you become more successful, hopefully you surround yourself with a team of people who have that expertise and that knowledge, except that you still need to understand enough to make sure that they are doing right by you, right? How do you know if your manager is doing a good job for you or not? How do you know if your publisher is doing right by you or not? That's very difficult if you don't understand the basics of the business. So I applaud you for being here today. This is part of your educational journey. And one day, hopefully, you'll be successful enough that you have a team of experts handling all those activities that you're not passionate about, so you can focus on what you are passionate about. But until you get to that point, and even once you are at that point, right, we've all heard horrible stories of really successful artists who are still taken advantage of by that team of people around them because they chose to sort of take a completely hands-off approach and said, well, you deal with it. And then come to find out that person was, not taking care of business. So you have to understand the business, and one day you can have a team of people handling a lot of those activities for you, but you still need to be making sure that they're doing right by you. So, continue learning.
How do I go about finding a team? Let's say if I'm just starting, how do I, what steps to take to be able to notice me,
Well, somebody else may want to tackle that one. I will say a lot of it, you can't just kind of call up someone and say, hey, will you be on my team, right? Often you start doing things that create success, and that gets the attention of people who are like, wow, I see what you're doing. I'd love to work with you, right? So, the first step is to start doing it on your own and creating an energy and an excitement that often will draw people to you who have that knowledge. It's not the same as hiring an accountant or a lawyer where you could Google it, get a list, contact them and say, hey, I want to, how much do you charge to do my taxes, right? It doesn't work that same way in the music business. It's more about getting your own set of excitement happening, being in the right places, like here, and meeting people, networking, so that then, the people that have that knowledge will want to work with you. But let me let others chime in.
But also, for example, you are a singer-songwriter, or you do country, or you do pop. I will suggest, it's like a very simple tip, but maybe it's obvious. Go to the credits of the songs that you love and try to look for the distributor or the record label that is working with that type of music, and it's going to be maybe more close to their, maybe personal, like the A&R would be, oh, yo amo la samba, I love metal, I love rock. And then you can start building a blueprint for your project, but also your brand. Like, if you are going to release a track or something, I always think that your brand and once you start building everything, is your best business card. Look yourself, your image as your personal business card, and I think that's something very attractive for us in this side of the table to start looking for.
I would say, it sounds cringe, but shoot your shot. Find whoever's doing whatever you need for your team and reach out to them on email, on Instagram, and, any way you can connect with them. You have nothing to lose. I would also say be very intentional. A lot of times we receive huge emails with bios from the moment they were born up until what they did yesterday, and you lose people's attention. So if you really believe in your craft, don't be scared to send an email with a link to your music, what makes you different, and if I can just have 5 minutes of your time. Also, when you're meeting these people, don't be aggressive in the sense of hey, I'm great, and this is what you can do for me. Also think this is what I can do for you, this is how I think we would collaborate and do great work together. There's nothing worse than somebody so obvious with their interests, and it kind of generates rejection from our side.
And open those links, okay? Don't send a drive without the permissions, because we're not going to answer hey, can you open the file so I can listen to your music? No, There's some tools that are super amazing for emerging artists like Disco, like Untitled, right? Because you can build your profile with your small bio. We don't want to know if you perform at your high school talent show. And you can be more specific, you know, you can share your links for social media, you upload a trackable track, and then you can see who is playing the song. So now that you know that Manu Ferradas from SiriusXM is actually listening to your music, you can tackle her. Hi, Manu, I noticed you love my last
Don't
single
tackle me.
or whatever. Well, no tackle. Contact her. And it's going to be easier for you, and you are going to look professional.
Voy a contestar ahora en español. Todos tienen que tener un trabajo, o sea, aparte de su arte, un trabajo, porque van a tener que gastar bastante dinero al principio. Lo primero que yo diría no es conseguir un manager, el manager viene después. Lo primero sería conseguir un publicista. Hay un montón. Es más, yo tengo una lista de recomendaciones que se las puedo pasar, que trabajan todo tipo de proyectos. El publicista va a ser el que va a crear el comunicado de prensa, o sea, las herramientas, la foto, el contenido, presentar. Es una carta de presentación que les va a llegar a los medios, a los record labels, a los promotores de radio, a las radios, etc. Si no tienes un publicista, estás en cero. Entonces hay todo tipo de presupuestos, los publicistas te pueden cobrar poquito, te pueden cobrar un montón, se trata de llegar a un acuerdo, pero yo creo que antes de tener un manager, el publicista es el que es como la carta de presentación, es el que te pone, visualiza, o sea, el que presenta tu proyecto. Después viene el manager, pero hay que tener un trabajo, van a tener que invertir un montón en ustedes al principio sobre todo.
Pero vámonos antes del publicista. ¿A dónde? Vámonos antes del publicista. ¿Cómo mando mi música? How I distribute my music,
No, es que
right?
Mario preguntó, how do I start building
Then the next step maybe
my team?
My
So
team.
with the publicist,
yeah, with
I guess.
the publicists.
I guess.
Publicists are the core.
Yeah.
Like the little hormiguitas are always like going to help you and be amazing, right? But I don't know, like from your perspective too, right? The distribution and choosing, and how do we put the music in the ears of everyone?
Well, so the good news is that in the music industry of today, independent artists have lots of opportunities for how they want to get that music onto services like Spotify and Apple Music, right? There's a whole set of ever-growing list of distributors out there that you can sign up with, right? Some of the oldest ones are CD Baby and TuneCore. They're still around. They've been doing this since the beginning. Newer ones are DistroKid, right? There's so many of them. And there's a website I'll tell you about, a guy named Ari. He has a website called Ari's Take. And every year he does an updated comparison list of all of those different distributors to compare them side by side, to tell you how much do they charge, how long does it take from when you send them your music till it's on those services. So if you haven't picked a distributor yet, if you just, search for like music distributor, Ari, A-R-I, Ari's Take, you'll find a nice comparison list, and then decide the one that's right for you. You sign up with them, and then you provide your recordings to them. You provide the information about the recordings, and from anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, it'll be up on those digital services. That's available to anyone.
At what point in my emerging career do I make the decision to try to look for a bigger distributor if I'm pocketing most of the money with CD Baby or TuneCore? Like, what would make me say, hey, you know what, I would let somebody else take a bigger cut, but I want to work with like Symphonic or Altafonte or The Orchard? When is that a beneficial, when does that become something that I should be looking into?
Well, I don't think there's a magic number, but those companies won't work with you if you don't have a track record of success on your own already. So, what they're going to be looking for is, for example, your Spotify number of monthly listeners. If that's in the hundreds, that's going to be too small. That needs to be in the thousands. If have you got social media followers that are engaging with your posts? So, I would say they're not going to be interested in you until you're showing some success, and not just success on social media. It's very easy for someone to like your post, right? That's really easy, just one little tap. What shows more interest is people commenting, right? That's engagement, people commenting on your posts. That's completely different than somebody just tapping, right? People listening to your entire recording on Spotify is different than just liking you on Instagram. So I think you need to build those numbers up before any of those kind of next level distributors that pick and choose who they want to work with are going to be interested in working with you.
Because they're looking for revenue. So at the end of the day, there's this magic word called CPM. So is the click per million, and it's basically what distributors and record labels use as a leverage to offer you a deal. So get a lot of streams.
Well, since you're in a label, like when at one point in my, again, emerging career, let's say I'm doing well, on my own, I'm doing, X monthly listeners on using a small distributor, like when should I need to upscale to a music label that may be able to scale what I'm doing at a bigger level?
Bueno, siento que desde ligas mayores estamos ofreciendo diferentes niveles, right? Tenemos unos proyectos que son Tier 1, where we only distribute, but in a good way that we can offer them the extra support as a pitching process, hacerles comentarios de, oye, esa portada está medio, update your profile, todo eso. Then we have another system where we actually invest the production. Entonces, para mí, tengo que analizar muy bien también la música que me están trayendo, porque tal vez es un artista con poquitos números, pero yo le veo el fuego en la sangre de que, wow, me encanta esto, y si lo pongo con la gente correcta y yo puedo ir con este productor que I have that relationship with, maybe we can do something really good. So it's like a give and take. Yes, business, in my case, business, but also I want to be loyal to the music industry, and music for me is maybe what it thrives.
Manu es acá de SiriusXM. ¿Hay unos parámetros o algo que uno busque específicamente para acceder o decir, sí, te voy a invitar a una sesión, a que vengas? O sea, yo sé que han tenido desde emerging artists hasta artistas muy grandes, pero...
Justamente, bueno, SiriusXM es nationwide y tenemos canales de todo tipo de género, entonces justamente no nos basamos solo en los números de social media, ni de listeners, ni nada, sino que aporten a la cultura, que sean relevantes en su género y en lo que hacen. Nos gusta variedad y calidad. Y también, bueno, idealmente, Mario ha venido varias veces, hacemos una performance, pero también foco en la entrevista, porque es importante contar su historia, ¿no? Hay veces que por ahí tienen pocos seguidores en redes sociales, pero producieron a los artistas más grandes que hoy en día escuchamos en todos lados. Entonces, es un poco distinto, no es solo números, sino la calidad.
Hablando de crear una historia y una narrativa, ¿por qué creen que es importante que en vez de simplemente decir, mira, soy un artista, mi música es muy bien chingona, escúchenla, versus vengo de este lugar, estoy trayendo mi cultura y mi raíz conmigo, me pasó lo siguiente para llegar acá? ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre uno y el otro y por qué es importante tener una historia?
Hay que conectar con el público. O sea, tienes que contar, no solamente como dice Mario, casa mi música, escúchala. Tienes que contar quién eres. Tienes que llegar a los oídos de la gente. Going back to what you said before, hay que tener contenido en todas las plataformas. Tus canciones tienen que estar registradas en los DSPs. Y, por ejemplo, tengo el caso de varios artistas emergentes. Yaritza y su esencia, por ejemplo. Es un grupo de hermanos que salieron famosos, están cantando en TikTok. O sea, los vio alguien, pero ellos venían contando su historia hace tiempo. Entonces, también es una cosa de suerte, ¿no? Tienes que contar tu historia, tienes que presentar tu producto, alguien te va a escuchar eventualmente, como fue el caso de ellos, y se hicieron famosos de un día para otro, llegaron a la revista de Billboard, como a otras revistas también, Rolling Stones están en todos lados, pero ellos vienen labrando el trabajo desde hace tiempo. Eso es importante, no solamente decir, ah, mira, aquí está mi música, sino quién soy, o sea, ¿no? El contenido de las canciones también tiene que ser relevante con tus historias, con las cosas que has pasado en tu vida, con lo que quieres contar. Es muy importante saber quién eres, qué es lo que quieres contar, qué es lo que quieres expresar para conectar con la audiencia. Básicamente.
Ahí quiero agregar una cosa más, que por ejemplo hay veces que un artista lanza un disco y ya pasa a otro tema y ya empieza a hablar de lo próximo que va a hacer. Y dentro de un disco tenés un montón de instancias de poder hacer storytelling, poder hacer parte al fan de ese proceso, desde el making of, digamos, de todos los aspectos, en el estudio, a qué inspiró tal canción, a una vez que sale el disco, seguir comunicándolo constantemente en redes, no sé, elegir 3 canciones por día y decir qué inspiró cada canción, cuál es tu parte favorita de la canción, cuando se cumple un año volver a comunicar el disco, o sea, parecen detalles, pero veo un montón de artistas que no lo hacen y después la gente se olvida. Entonces, como realmente el storytelling, hacerlo parte de todo el proceso.
Yeah, right now, like, what, a song lives a week, and then the next Friday, you're going to have 3,000, 30,000 more songs. So never stop, like, back to your catalog. Like, we've seen this success in TikTok, Fleetwood Mac, all these, like, songs from the catalog, and then those are your babies. Don't forget them. Keep growing them.
So we touched on now the social media / redes, ¿no? Las redes y los TikToks y los Instagrams. If you want to create art and you are happy with playing shows that fulfill you, or doing and releasing music at your own pace and level, and that's your goal, then kudos, amazing, good for you. I fall under that category kind of. I'm just happy making what I really like. If you want to be in the cover of Billboard, then you're going to have to pay attention to all your numbers, your stories, your content, and that seems to be right now where most of the effort into emerging artists is going to, is how to boost up your numbers on social media. I call it the necessary evil. If you want to be famous and you want to be successful and you want to live off your music and like Maluma, buy a plane, then that's what you got to do, right?
No, I mean, yes and no.
Okay.
There's a case of, well, I'm not going to mention names, but a few artists that didn't have, they entered the charts, Billboard charts, just based on streams because of their songs, they're getting played and whatnot. They had no radio support, for instance, and they'd still enter the charts because of their streams. What was the other question that you said?
But it was about social media.
Social media, yeah. Okay, so social media, meaning like you have the numbers of social media,
Social
right?
media being now a barometer for,
Right.
whether we like it or not, a barometer for success for a lot of artists. And why is it important? The first thing everyone asks you when you're trying to market or get sponsors or anything is like, what are the numbers? What, and like, in my opinion, or what I look for, what is the engagement? But what are the numbers? And like, why is that so important right now in this particular, where where we are, in the industry?
It's important, but it's not. There's talent too that we take into account.
Absolutely.
Yo diría que sí, hay que tener contenido, hay que crear contenido, hay que, be up to date with whatever you're putting out. The numbers to count, but it's not everything that we look for.
I think it's about being authentic. There's nothing worse than trying to do the exact same
Right.
thing that everybody else is doing. So when people are struggling to what kind of content should I do, what should I post, just do whatever feels right for you. Find different angles. Again, for one song, there's 100 different things you can do to put content out there. Also collaborate with other people. You never know, reaching new audiences by getting together with other people in the studio, going to events.
There's also, I've seen stories of artists that are just starting that they cover songs from established artists. You have, you do your little switch, your little take on that song. You put your name, obviously. You put the name of the artist that song belongs to, because you have to give them credit. And that also attracts attention.
But
So-
we're in agreement then that the social media aspect to get to a certain level is a must. It's almost like your second job if
Well, I
you're an
mean,
emerging artist.
Yeah, I mean, it's super easy for you guys. Now you have social media. We didn't have that back in the day. So it's a tool. You have to use it. If you don't use it, it's a disadvantage to you.
Yeah, and actually,
Yeah.
social media, they have special accounts that you can follow to get you a sense of all the updates that they're having as a platform. So you can go to Instagram for creators, the account, and you're going to see like the best performing reels
The
or
analytics.
like, como cositas así que te van a poder inspirar, no tanto como copiar, pero vas a decir, ok, si uso este sonido, le bajo todo el volumen, and I do a voiceover, maybe the algorithm is going to help me because I'm using a viral sound, right? Same thing with TikTok. Prepare your social media with your links, with your pre-save and all that stuff, and now you're going to be able to actually do like a countdown page on TikTok for the release of albums. So I think that's amazing. So social media is actually thinking in the music business.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's part of the job. You should be dedicating at least an hour a day to see what's trending, what's out there, what's working best in each platform. Also, another thing that a lot of people don't do, and it's so simple, it's engage with your fans in all the platforms. Like, go comment back on YouTube videos, like people's comments, comment back, engage with them, even on DM. Like, if you're just starting out, really find how you can connect with every platform in other DSPs, which I won't mention because I work at Pandora, SiriusXM Pandora. But you can do collaborative playlists and ask fans to add their music. Like, there's so many ways to connect. Find the best way on each platform and go from there.
I want to see if you agree with this statement. I think social media is not where you should be, quote, it should be where you're promoting your music, but primarily is where you're promoting yourself and your story. People can go to your Spotify, whatever, to listen to your music, but how does your social media grow? And I think the growth happens because you are putting out
It depends on the content.
that is growing you
The
as a
narrative.
person, growing you as an individual, growing you as a celebrity, and people will want to connect with that, right? And then eventually that's what you use to promote your music, your art, the releases, etc. Fair? Fair to say?
It's one thing to have your music, but the other one to promote yourself as a brand. You need to understand that you're a brand. You're an artist, but you're also a brand, and that's what you want to promote as well.
Cool. Bueno, industry relations and networking are like this, like these, and that's why I think this is so important. For the ones that are lucky enough to be able to travel to other conferences, I mean, I certainly encourage that. I think networking is probably, and relations and nurturing those relations is super, super, super importante, probably just as important as you releasing music. You know, would you say that's correct?
100%, but also going back to what we said before, be mindful how you approach people. Like, to this day, I remember somebody important in the industry introduced himself, and the first thing he said was, "Where do you work?" before even asking my name or anything. So to this day, I don't work with him. And it's like, don't be so interested, be interested, but don't seem like I'm ready to use you. Go to the events, meet people. Everybody has something to offer. Even like just talking to somebody, they can have a creative idea that's going to help you in your project. We live in Miami. There's things happening every single day. Go, be present. Also, another thing, we have, like, for example, a WhatsApp group with a bunch of women in the industry. And don't be afraid to share your contacts, introduce people. Always be mindful, of course, before giving us a private cell phone number. Ask the person if it's okay. But share, introduce other people. Don't get, like, greedy with who you know, because at the end of the day, it all comes back. And, yeah.
As Angie said, be nice. Right? I mean, just be nice, be approachable, but also, like, I think when we start, like, networking in the industries, like, pay respect to the person that is next to you. Like, I wish I have the 9% of what she knows about royalties and all this other stuff. I will be like, hey, Serona, thank you so much. Can I invite you for a coffee, and can we chat? Can I pick your brain or whatever? Like, I think ser como más consciente de que el tiempo es lo más preciado que tenemos en el mundo, ¿sabes? Entonces, que una persona te esté dando su tiempo, su expertise, sus tips, es un regalo que yo agradezco a todas las personas que cuando yo no trabajaba en la industria dijeron, ah, bueno, she's funny, le acepto el café, you know? O no sé, like, no está tan perdida, pero creo que el arte, la gente buena siempre se va a juntar con gente buena, la música linda se va a juntar con la gente linda. So be mindful, cutesy.
Creo que when you, I get asked a lot, because I get to be plugged into the Miami local scene. I work with a lot of artists who are locally, who are doing, you know, events every weekend, and some of the questions that I get is like, how do I get to meet like someone who can help me manage my music? How can I get to the next level? And like, I always come back with like, you got to be present at events and at, you know, the gatherings in which those people are going to be around, and you know, have a certain decorum to be able to connect with them. But that is basically how you are able to share what you have, and if it connects with someone else, then, you know, art has this weird thing where if it's good, people want to be around it. If it's contagious, people want to share it. And that is how you little by little get like, okay, that person might not be what I need, but he might connect me with someone else. She might help me with that. And like, as being as approachable as possible goes a long way.
Yeah.
You know?
First, have your solid portfolio of music, of your art, your craft. And then, like I said before at the beginning, you need to have a job because you're going to have to invest in yourself a lot. Entonces, hay mil, como dijeron, hay mil conferencias de música, not just in Miami. This is a very nice one. It's been happening for 3 years already, right? And 4 years, sorry. And it's growing. This is one step. You have South by Southwest in Austin. You're going to have to travel. That's why having a job is super important. South by Southwest, which is the best thing for emerging artists. You get to meet everybody from the world unites there, and it's great. You have Latin Grammy Week. You have Billboard Latin Music Week. And we've met a lot of artists. We have these like round tables where we sit with anybody, and they just give us their cards, their little, you know, we exchange Instagrams, we exchange anything, and then they get to, we have this playlist which we put out every Friday. It's New Music Latin, and some artists that have never been heard in their lives have appeared in that playlist just because they came, they took the job, they did their homework, came to our conference, exchanged, you know, just approached us, started talking to us, and that's how it started. It's very simple, but you have to do the homework and the job. Yeah.
I think the last panel touched, if you were here for the last panel, touched a lot on the legal and business side of the industry per se. But from a emerging artist point of view, what are some of the basic things? I think Sorona, you might be able to answer this better. What are some of the basic things that need to really be like, okay, checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. I need to have this in place.
Yes, and they did touch on it, but I'm going to expand a little and reiterate it. So first off, anybody who is creating music, you are a songwriter. Whether you don't think of yourself, you think of yourself as an artist, but actually you may not realize you wear multiple hats. And one of those hats is you are a songwriter, and every songwriter has to sign up with one PRO. That's short for Performing Rights Organization. Anybody can sign up with ASCAP and BMI. There's several others, but they're more like invitation only. But every single songwriter needs to sign up with a PRO. Generally, you're signing up with one in your domestic country. If you're not from the US, you know, depending on where you're from, you may want to sign up with the one there, and they will collect for you from the US. So every single songwriter needs to do that. Every single songwriter, if you have not signed a contract with a music publisher, then guess what? You are your own publisher. So there's your second hat. Like, wow, okay, I'm a writer and I'm a publisher. Yep, just start piling those hats on. When you sign up with a PRO, you also need to join as a publisher, okay? Because you are both the writer and the publisher. Next thing, for those in the US, right, there's a different kind of royalties they mentioned last time called mechanical royalties. In addition to my role at the University of Miami, I am the head of educational partnerships at the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective. It's a newer organization, started operating in 2021. because of a big change in the US copyright law that changes the way this kind of royalties works. And since then, we've paid out more than $2.5 billion. So every single music publisher, and if you're wearing that hat, that means you, needs to sign up with the MLC. That is free. You have to sign up, join, and register your songs, right? So same thing with the PRO. It's not enough to just join. You have to register your songs. If you join the MLC, register your songs. That's all on the song side of the business. Now let's jump over to the recording side of the business, right? Put on your recording artist hat. You need to join Sound Exchange if you are US-based. You absolutely need to join Sound Exchange because there's another kind of royalties that when music's played on Pandora or SiriusXM, it generates revenue that flows through Sound Exchange. You need to join that and register your sound recordings with them, right? So that's several things on that checklist. You need to pick your distributor, as we talked about earlier, right? Who's gonna get your recordings onto those digital services? That's another critical thing that you need to do. So those are things you don't need a lawyer to help with, you don't need an accountant, you don't need a manager. All of those organizations have customer support people who will answer your emails, get on the phone, help explain it. And then the last thing I would say is you need to register your copyrights with the Copyright Office. And they mention that as copyright.gov. There's a whole new toolkit that the Copyright Office just launched for creators. So they're making it easier and easier to understand what do you need to do and how to do it. And there's some ways to save money. Also where you can register 20 songs on one fee rather than one fee per each one. So to me, that's the starter checklist, right? I'll keep going a little bit more. Spotify for artists, YouTube for artists, every one of those 4 artists, it's free to sign up, okay? Do that because that lets you control what it shows as your photo, what it shows as your about. It lets you tap into other things like maybe listing concerts and all kinds of things. It is free on those platforms, generally speaking. So everybody should do that.
And if you do need a lawyer, Angie Martinez is probably one of the best ones.
Call Angie. Call Angie.
Thank you guys so much. This concludes our conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We are ready to take some questions, if there are any.
Questions?
We have a streaming question.
Okay.
Streaming question.
Okay, so I feel you've covered a lot from this question, but here's more specifically, ideally, what departments need to be covered in a small team for an emerging artist, and how many people are usually in a team for an artist that's starting out?
I'll start with something I wanted to mention. Somebody mentioned a momager earlier, and those are nothing wrong with family members being part of your journey, and maybe they're more there for moral support. But if you're an emerging starting artist, it's always better to have someone who has a little bit of a background in the industry, because that background means connections. That means other people that can help you out, whether sometimes family members, as much as we love them and want to be involved, 10 to 9 times out of 10 be a cog in the machine, and that can complicate a lot of things. That said, building a team is very important. What kind of a team should that look like?
Iba a decir algo que evitar, no se echen un novio o una novia, por favor, hasta que no hayan sacado 3 discos, por lo menos. El primero va a ser para ustedes. Es el que van a sacar con canciones que han creado por aquí y por allá, los van a poner en la cara de alguien. El segundo es que a través del primero alguien ya tomó interés en ustedes y seguro los firman, seguro no, da igual, pero van a salir a promover ese disco. El primero siempre es como que la carta de presentación, el segundo es como que, con el que de verdad van a ser conocidos. El tercero ya se convierte en artistas establecidos, entonces ahí ya pueden hacer lo que les da la gana. Ahí pueden tener un novio o una novia. Generalmente, sí, es que se convierten en un obstáculo, empiezan a opinar. He visto casos, yo he trabajado, antes de trabajar en Billboard, he trabajado con artistas independientes y en record labels, y he visto casos de 2 artistas sobre todo, con unos talentazos increíbles, y tuvieron un novio, empezaron a opinar, las carreras se les fue al carajo, perdón la palabra. La otra se mudó de la ciudad, se pierden. Y yo sufro con eso porque veo, a mí me encanta ver emerging talent, porque me encanta ir a conciertos y ver artistas nuevos que son, ¿no? Que empiezan a lucharla, a labrarla y que se convierten en artistas de verdad. Y ellas ya estaban firmadas y se fueron al carajo.
I think you,
O sea, desaparecieron del mapa y es como que, wow. Al final, qué lindo estar en amor, como dijo Angie hace un rato, pero son obstáculos al final. Ya cuando tengan 3 discos, ahí hagan lo que quieran.
what's
Antes no.
love got to do, got to do. No,
Well, that's what
so
to do because it's part of what you shouldn't have as part of your team.
you should be your own manager. You should learn and study and learn as much as possible on your own until you get to the point where you're like, I can no longer do this on my own. I need help.
But
That is to me like
Yeah.
the basic of like how you progress. You know, like I need a team. Okay, let's look for a team. But in the meantime, learn, do as much as you can.
I will say marketing. You know, if you have someone that is helping you with paid media, doing some advertising, and so like, okay, maybe I don't have $3,000 to pay the publicist, but I have $1,000, right? Maybe I need to grow a little bit my numbers para que me vean y que, ¿no? Creo que para mí, viniendo desde otro lado, invertiría uno en marketing digital, que me ayude a establecer mi brand, todo eso, then the PR, para que me ayude a hacer el spread out, and then when I think las cositas van como que tomando candela, I'll start looking for a manager. Que no sea tu primo, que no sea tu novio, que no sea tu mamá, nadie de la familia. Ellos pueden ser como your emotional support friend.
No managers, no nothing. Family, chao.
We have one more question.
Aquí había una pregunta que iba dirigida a Pamela y era que si podías compartir algunos de los publicistas que recomiendas, de pronto para esos artistas emergentes nuevos.
Tengo una lista de publicistas, me pueden escribir, no me bombardeen con emails, por favor, pero los puedo compartir, sí, o sea, son colegas con las que vengo trabajando desde la época de BMG hace 1000 años, en Sony, con artistas independientes, sí, o sea, son conocidos en la industria, nos seguimos en Instagram o en LinkedIn y todo, o sea que me pueden preguntar y yo con gusto les comparto la lista de algunos. Hay todo tipo, como dijiste tú, hay todo tipo de publicistas que te van a cobrar $3,000, que te van a cobrar $1,000, así como hay artistas emergentes, hay publicistas emergentes que también necesitan trabajo, pero se han tomado la molestia de comprar la lista de contactos o de conseguirla o de armarla, entonces eso es una ayuda un poco más económica, ¿no?
I think that's it, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, UNSiN.
Any more questions? Any more questions?
All right.
We're done? Okay. Let's have a big applause. Thank you, guys.